He shot up in bed, gasping for air. Sweat slicked his skin. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. The nightmare. It was always the same. The cabin, the woods, the chilling feeling of dread. Billy was only 10, but the recurring nightmare haunted him every time he closed his eyes. He trembled, clutching his blankets for comfort. The darkness of his room felt heavy, suffocating. He knew he wouldn't be able to fall back asleep. Not tonight. He slid out of bed and tiptoed towards his door. The hallway was dark, but a sliver of light peeked out from under his mother's bedroom door. He hesitated for a moment, then quietly knocked. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I had the nightmare again." The door creaked open, revealing his mother's tired but concerned face. She ushered him into the room and pulled him into a warm hug. "It's okay, honey," she soothed, stroking his hair. "It was just a dream." "But it felt so real," Billy insisted, his voice barely above a whisper. "The cabin, the woods, and the light in the window. It felt like someone was watching me." He shuddered at the memory. His mother's grip tightened around him. "You know, we used to go to a cabin in the woods when you were little," she said softly, her voice almost a murmur. "Maybe that's what you're remembering." Billy looked up at her, his eyes wide. "You never told me about that," he said. "Why didn't we ever go back?" His mother hesitated, her gaze drifting away for a moment. "It was a long time ago, sweetheart," she finally said, her voice distant. "We don't talk about it much anymore." She led him to her bed and tucked him in beside her. The familiar scent of lavender helped to calm his nerves. He snuggled into her side, seeking comfort from the lingering fear of the nightmare. "Tell me about it," he pleaded, hoping that hearing about the cabin in the daylight might chase away the shadows of his nightmare. And so his mother began to speak. Her voice, a soothing melody in the darkness, wove a tale of a time long ago, a time when Billy was just a baby, too young to remember. "It was a beautiful cabin," she began, her voice distant as if recalling a faded memory, nestled amongst tall pines, with a porch overlooking a crystal-clear lake. Billy listened, mesmerized, as his mother painted a picture of their family vacation. He could almost hear the crackling fire, smell the pine needles, and feel the warmth of the summer sun on his skin. But beneath her comforting words, a seed of unease began to grow in his heart. Section 5. The Vacation Begins. Their father had been ecstatic about the trip. An escape from the city, he had called it. A chance to reconnect with nature and spend quality time as a family. They spent their days fishing by the lake, their father teaching a much younger Billy how to bait a hook. They roasted marshmallows over a crackling fire as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The days were idyllic, filled with laughter and the simple joys of family. But at night, the shadows grew longer, and the forest came alive with sounds. A sense of unease settled over their little cabin. Section 6. The Disappearance. It started subtly, a rustling in the bushes outside their window, the distant howl of a wolf echoing through the silent night. Their father, always the pragmatist, dismissed it as nothing more than nocturnal animals going about their business. But then, one night, their father vanished. He had stepped out for some fresh air, a cigar clutched between his fingers, but he never returned. The search parties found no trace of him. The police concluded it was a wild animal attack, a tragic but not uncommon occurrence in such remote areas. But Billy's mother, her face pale and drawn, always suspected something more sinister. Section 7. A glimmer in the darkness. What happened next? Billy asked, his voice barely a whisper. The story, though terrifying, held him captive. He felt inexplicably drawn to the mystery of his father's disappearance. His mother's eyes glistened in the dim light. "We packed our things and left that very night," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We never went back." "But what about the light in the window?" Billy pressed, remembering his nightmare. "The one in the cabin?" Section 8. Transformation. A shiver ran down Billy's spine as he watched his mother's face contort. Her features, usually so soft and loving, twisted into a grotesque mask of anger. It was as if a different being resided beneath her skin, something monstrous and terrifying. "There was never a light," she hissed, her voice raspy and unfamiliar. Her eyes, now glowing with an unnatural intensity, seemed to burn into him. Panic surged through Billy. This wasn't his mother. This creature, this monster, was wearing her skin. He wanted to scream, to run, but terror froze him in place. Section 9. A terrifying realization. "He saw too much," the creature hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "Just like you, my precious boy." The words sent a chill down Billy's spine, the horrifying truth dawning on him. His nightmares weren't just nightmares, they were fragmented memories. Memories of that dreadful night, of his father's disappearance, and the horrifying truth about his mother. He was trapped, alone in the dark, with a monster wearing his mother's face. He squeezed his eyes shut, wishing, praying for it all to be a bad dream. Section 10. The nightmare continues. "Don't worry, darling," the creature cooed, her voice sickeningly sweet. "It'll all be over soon." Billy felt a cold, clammy hand caress his cheek, her touch sending shivers down his spine. He forced his eyes open a sliver, just in time to see her grotesque, distorted face inches from his own. He let out a whimper, burying his face in the pillow, trying to block out the terrifying reality. And as darkness enveloped him once more, he knew with chilling certainty that this was no ordinary nightmare. This was his new reality, and it was only just beginning.